So I'm now conflicted.
All right, I hear you.
Okay, we are live.
All right, here we go. All right, my friends, so we're in the middle of Siman 92, and we were learning about
Two dry salads.
two dry salads. We're learning basically chaticha nasas
So
nevela.
it's not called a two dry salad.
Exactly. When it applies and when it does not apply. We said, of course, the Machaber and the Ramah argue about that in general. The Ramah is stricter, but he does allow for some leniency. For example, when it comes to lach belach, specifically by shar isurim. Whereas if it would be basar b'chalav, gravy and milk, lach belach, then we would say chaticha nasas nevei. And there's different reasons. I don't know if we went into this yesterday so much, why when it's lach belach it's different. Some say that it's because you don't really have an item that becomes an avela. When you have a piece that absorbs, so the piece can be transformed, that can become an avela. But here, there's nothing that's absorbing anything. It's just a mixture. You understand? So the idea of something being transformed doesn't apply when that thing is not really absorbing. It's just mixing. So that's one idea. Others say that it has to do with the fact that basar b'chalav is only asur through cooking, and the whole thing about shar isurim having chaticha nasas nevela is a gzeira because of basar b'chalav. So therefore they say, well, if it's only a mixture of two liquids not being cooked, just kind of mixing, so that's not similar to basar b'chalav, and that's why it doesn't apply. Which would mean, by the way, that the idea of being lenient by lach balach is only if it was not cooked. According to that understanding of the Ramah, we are only lenient by lach balach if it was not cooked. If it would have been cooked, even by shar isurim, then it would not be any different than yavesh and lach and so on and so forth. So that's something that I did not mention last night.
Liquid in some category of lach.
I'm sorry?
Lach and liquid put in the same group.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean liquid and liquid. That's what I mean.
So unless they're hot.
Thank you.
So unless they're hot. With lach.
Amen.
No shar isurim with lach.
No chanan, bashar isurim alach balach. Some say.
But is it his general rule for the Ramah? No shar isurim if it's liquids?
Actually, if we read the words of the Ramah carefully, he only says it in a case of Pashut. Just give me a moment, please. Hefsed Godel. Yishlis Machal Zeh B'Shar Isurim. L'tzorech Hefsed Godel. Even by Lach Balach and Shar Isurim, only with a great financial loss. He doesn't give it a blanket heter.
Oh, so it's only
Correct.
hefsed meruba?
Correct. I want to also go back and address something within the opinion of the Machaber that I don't think I clarified yesterday. Here, the Machaber says that by other isurim we do not say chaticha nasas nevela, and not only that, afilu chaticha atzmo chazeres lihiyos muteres. The piece that previously became forbidden, if it now mixes in such a way that it can be bottled b'shishim, that the flavor in it can be bottled b'shishim, the piece itself can become permissible.
It doesn't matter which shishin is count for the pot with the soup or the חתיכה.
What?
If you have חתיכה בשר נבלה, drop, and it becomes נבלה.
Right.
So-
Bashar Isurim, whatever it
So
is.
this חתיכה can be okay.
According to the Mechaber, that's what the Mechaber says.
This one the Mechaber says. So if the חתיכה has more shishin,
That means if after it became Aser, it now mixes into a different mix in such a way that the flavor in it can be batal b'shishim, even the piece itself becomes mutter.
With Shara Sword.
Shar Surim.
Obviously, the Rama would not agree with that.
Obviously, the Rama does not agree. But there's a bit of a contradiction here. Because the Mechaber himself in Siman Kuvav and Ta'aruvas says that even though the piece does not become an Avela, we're still not going to permit the piece itself.
Just want to say, like, what I asked you yesterday, דבר שיש לו מתרים לא בטל אפילו בעמק?
No, that's something else.
So what is it?
I'm not talking about Davar Shesh Matir. I'm talking about a regular piece with a regular Isser, Chaylev, let's say. So it absorbed Chaylev. According to the Mechaber, it's not a Nevela, it's just it has Chaylev flavor. So the question is, can the flavor be taken out of it if it mixes into a big pot and then you can eat the piece itself or not? So here he says, yeah, oz afilu chaticha atzmu chazeres liis muteres.
diavad or תחילה?
No, only b'diavad, of course. You cannot mix in an iser in lechatchila to be mevatel. Can't do it on purpose. Sorry? Only in the machab. Rama says chaticha nas is nevela, so that's it. But according to the Mechaber, chaticha does not become an aveda. The question is, efshel lesoichtoi asur amuter. That's the. No, this is all the Mechaber. Mechaber says that we do not say chaticha nas in the aveda b'shar yisur.
אפשר לשאוף את האסור.
So that's the question. That's the question. In Kuvav, he says efshel lesoichtoi asur. That means even though it doesn't become an aveda.
אפשר לשאוף את המוטה.
Exactly. That's the contradiction. No. He's talking about Sharisam. Also Sharisam. That's the
So he
contradiction. That's the
contradicts
problem.
himself in Basar Bachala in this
Exactly.
simon and the.
So the Shach explains that what we're talking about here is if the piece became lost in other pieces. You don't know the piece. So then the piece itself becomes mutter. Even by the way, it's a chaticha ru'ila hiskabet.
We studied that yesterday.
This is an important piece I want to.
We studied that in a different context yesterday.
It's an important piece.
We don't
Chaticha
know the
hiskabet.
חתיכה, and then we mix it up, and Baruch Hashem.
I understand. No, you can't mix it on purpose. If it got mixed up. But here's the thing. This is a very important point. Even an important piece that becomes aser, and normally we say chaticha ru'ila hiskabet is not batal even in 1,000. But if the iser is not the piece itself, but rather it's a flavor that the piece absorbed, then it can be batal. Why? Because the absorbed flavor is not ru'ila hiskabet. What do you serve your guests? You serve them the piece. Oh, that's what you're proud of. You're not proud of the flavor in the piece. And maybe you are, but that's not what you can serve them. You have to serve them the piece. If you just serve them the flavor, they're not going to come back. You understand? It's not, in a sense, so what's ru'ila hiskabed is the heter part of it, not the isser part of it.
As Gvodo is meaning if this חתיכה, it touched little bit with the chelev.
Yes, so now it's also.
Asur, but
But someone's saying, now this piece that has chaylev in it gets mixed into a big pot,
big part.
and you don't know which piece it is. So first of all, you only go by 60 of the chaylev in it, not by the whole thing. That's the mechaber. Second of all, the piece itself is mutter. Now, of course, if you would know which piece it is, you would take it out. Like he says in Kuvav.
Whereas if it had
If you don't know which piece it is, then it's bottle.
Because when you serve,
Min b'minoi. Exactly. Because exactly, because the flavor is not
gone.
Riyal Kabed.
It's gone
The
because of-
flavor is not Riyal Kabed.
אבל according to Rama, even if it's already covered, also.
That I don't think so either. That I don't think so either. You need 60 times the piece, according to the Ramah, that's the difference. But even though he holds Chaticha Nasis Nevela, but it doesn't apply to Chaticha Riles Kabed. That is, if I'm not mistaken, the halacha. Even though,
It's going to be Matthew?
yeah, it's going to be able to be matam.
Because the same reason as the Mechaber, because only the flavor is also.
Exactly. Even though we say Chaticha Nasis Nevela, but as far as Chaticha Riles Kabed, we don't say that. We don't say it to that extent. If I'm not mistaken, that's what the Ramah himself paskins. Yossi, what were you going to say?
Oh, so I was saying that if you have the same issue where a nice chunk of meat fell in, but it was a treif chunk of meat, it would be different because the isser is the chunk of meat of which you're proud. Whereas if it was a piece of meat that had some milk flavor in it, then that
No. Whoa. Piece of meat with milk flavor in it, that is an actual nevela, just like an actual certifiable nevela from nevela land.
So what are we talking about then?
I'm talking about chelev.
Because Chelev is דבר אסור מלכתחילה.
Chelev, dam, noiser, pigel, orla, kilayim. Go down the list, take your pick.
Wait. Sorry, I've failed to understand something then.
Go ahead.
No. So what is the scenario that we were just talking about?
I'm talking about where a piece has an absorbed flavor from shari sur, not from basar b'chalaf. And I'm saying that according to the Mechaber, we do not have the concept of chaticha nasas nevela. According to the Rama, we do. But according to either one, we do not apply the rules of chaticha liskabed to this piece. According to the Beis Yosef, according to the Mechaber, certainly not, because the piece itself is not asur, it's just the flavor that's asur. But even according to the Ramah, who says chaticha nasas nevela, it does not get also the strictness of chaticha liskabed as far as not being bottled, because after all, it's not asur machmas asmei. After all, it didn't become asur from itself.
I get that.
It's from something else.
But wait, but we're not talking about milk flavor going into the meat.
No, milk flavor going to the meat
You're right.
is absolutely asur machmas asmei. Of course, it's asur deraisa. That goes without saying. But I'm saying it's considered asur machmas asmei. It's not an absorbed isser. It's asur machmas asmei.
Right. So we were talking about everything except milk flavor going in.
Exactly.
I'm glad I got that clarified.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking it up in Kuf Aleph. Which is a siman just about chaticha nasas nevela. Excuse me.
So if the milk flavor went into this piece of meat, and this piece of meat got mixed up with with however many other pieces of meat, what happens?
According to the Mechaber, you just need 60 times the chelev flavor in it.
Because
Or
there's
whatever.
no nevela concept, yep.
Exactly. According to the Ramah, you need 60 times the piece itself.
Okay.
Yeah. That's clear in Siman 101, Kuf Aleph. That even according to the Ramah, we do not apply the dinim of chaticha liskabed by an absorbed flavor, besides basar b'chalaf.
So, חתיכה לא לקבל בשאר יסורים בגלל מתיר, בשר בחלב בגלל בעשר לדבר?
Exactly. When you say b'shar sur, you mean a isser balua by shar sur. Yes, correct.
It's going to be matir.
Correct. He's going to allow it. He's going to allow it to be bottle, even though it's the real discount, but not basar. No. Now, I'll bring it in now, even though it's not really relevant to this exact point.
בשר טרף. חמור, סוס, בשר שנהיה טמא מזה, נהיה נגלה מזה.
בסדר, זה כמו שאר יסורים.
זה כמו שאר יסורים, אבל זה שייך כאילו לחלב, או שייך כאילו דרייתא שזה בכלל...
חלב, זה דרייתא, זה שאר יסורים. זה שאר יסורים, זה לא בשר בחלב.
אוקיי, זה שאר יסורים. אוקיי.
גם דרייתא, אבל זה איסור בלוע, זה לא איסור עצמי. Okay, so what about, maybe we did touch upon this yesterday, I remember. What about if the basar b'chalav flavor?
Why the challah is on the handle? The challah itself is asur.
I understand that, but if a piece of basar absorbs the challah flavor, right? It's not the challah itself. It's the flavor of the challah in the basar. It's absorbed. It's a balua. Right, so that isser balua.
It's going to be just the flavor. You can say the blood is the flavor of the blood.
Absolutely, the blood is of course an isser balua. The only thing that's not an isser balua is the actual piece of chaylev. Wow, that's isser atzmi, or a piece of nevela.
Yeah,
go to Publix and you buy a.
Oil, so
Sorry.
But the challah is melted, and then it's really a joy in the meat. It's just in
Okay.
a different form.
I understand, but the meat is not the isser. The meat absorbed the isser of chaylev. If you want an isser atzmi, you go to Publix and you buy Purdue chicken or whatever other chickens and meats they have there. That, the whole piece it's an nevela. You can make a stamp, nevela. You can stamp it, nevela.
That's a real nevela.
That's a real
Not
nevela.
created nevela.
That's a real nevela. Any flavor that gets absorbed into a kosher piece, so that's a balloon.
Okay, so the milk also on the
I understand, but because milk and meat are things that are mutter, and when they mix, they become aser. So you cannot consider an isser balua because which is the isser? Which is the isser? What is that? When you're in isser balua, you have one thing that's mutter, and it absorbs something that's aser. But here they're both mutter. So if they're mixing and they're aser, that means they both have to be aser. You can't say one is more aser than the other. That's a special thing.
Because it's one mutar, one asur, na'avir eta. And because it's chelev asur, and this is mutar, this is not, and this is okay. But if it's both of them, chalav basar is mutar, then it becomes asur.
Then it becomes a aser machmas. Then it becomes a aser itself, not an absorbed isser, but an isser itself. Okay, so let me ask you something else here, and this is actually a bit of a machlokes, so whatever you say is going to be correct, but nevertheless, what about basar b'chalav flavor that then gets absorbed by another piece of basar?
It's already
Well, it becomes like a nevela, according to
Is
Ramah.
it like shari surim or is it like basar b'chalav?
basar v'chalav, because it's already nevela from the chalav and the basar.
I understand, but now that flavor is another piece.
It's a new flavor, the basar b'chalav flavor.
So it's shari surim or it's basar b'chalav?
Shari
I understand if you have 60 it's mutter, but you need 60 against.
No, it's like basar b'chalav.
You need 60 against. One second. According to the Ramah, welcome. According to the Ramah, you have no issues because he says it's chatich nas nevela anyway. Shari surim or basar b'chalav.
Yep.
But according to the Machaber, who says shari surim is no chanan. So is this shari surim or is it basar b'chalav?
Okay, so it's more complicated than that. I think it's more complicated because even though it is like a nevela, it still contains in it milk, and therefore you could consider it a milk tavshil. Yeah.
It contains milk in it. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So let's say it wasn't meat. Let's say it was. Let's say this was. Okay. Let's say you're talking about some milk and some gravy.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, so milk and gravy. So now we're saying it's like a nevela. But if it weren't meat, if it wasn't gravy, if it was milk and water, we would still be considering it milchig. So
Certainly.
so as a result, even though you'd think we'd treat it as a nevela, it's still as well as that, it's also got the milk flavor in it that hasn't gone away. And therefore, if that mixes with meat, you've got milk flavor in the meat.
The Shach disagrees.
Okay.
Shach disagrees. What do you say? What did you say, Mike?
I say that it's a unique new flavor,
And therefore?
and therefore you put it's now elevated itself in the category of all these other prohibited isurim. So I think Shar Isurim would be the way there.
But yes, he's putting forth an argument. He's saying the milk flavor is still there.
I understand.
Now, one
but
second. Now the milk flavor is mixing with meat. So why is it not less than basar v'chalav as far as that?
Because it's not milk flavor in and of itself. It's milk and meat.
I understand,
flavor.
but there is also milk. There is also milk. Let's just talk about the milk. There is milk flavor.
Yeah.
The milk flavor is going into the meat.
Basar.
Why does that not create a new isser basar v'chalav? Why not?
Because it's a unique flavor. There is milk as part of it.
I understand,
But it's a
there's
milk combined
But what
with
about
meat.
that milk? I understand. As far as that milk is concerned, why can that milk not create a new basar v'chalav?
Nevela.
You mean transfer the flavor to the other pieces?
Yeah.
The new pot?
Yeah. It fell. You have basar v'chalav mixture, and it fell from there into another mixture.
The piece that you got mixed
The
with
piece.
So this piece is, we have 60 in the pot against the milk, it's going to be mutter.
But it's nevela.
This piece is just us with the mushroom. It's like become like a complete.
Well, the whole piece is
It's nevela.
the whole piece is in a veil. One second.
Meat with
Whoa. Whole piece is aser. No question about it. The whole piece is aser, and if it falls into another pot, you don't have 60 against the whole piece.
Right.
The piece is definitely nevela. Basar v'chalav, everybody agrees. You don't have 60 against the whole piece, then that pot becomes a nevela also. Becomes aser also. The question is, does it become a nevela, or does it only become aser? That's my question.
Yeah, yesterday, I don't think they have the power to make the other pieces, also available.
Why not?
Because it's not a
Why
mutar
not?
piece. It's not a mutar. You need two mutars.
That's correct. That's the
You
Shaf's
need
argument.
two mutars.
That's the
to
Shaf's
create a new,
argument. Exactly, that's the Shaf's argument.
This is a
Thank
an
you very
asur plus a
much.
mutar.
That's the Shaf's argument. So again, according to the Ramah, it does become an Avela because it's not, basar v'chalav is not less than Chelev, it's not less than any other Isser. But according to the Mechaber who says that basar v'chalav is unique, actually, no. According to the Shach, the way he tells the Mechaber what to say, he says, according to the Mechaber, the Shach says, it should be like Shar Isurim. Because what makes basar v'chalav unique is that it's two mutter things coming together, creating an isser. If one of them is already isser on its own, mixing with a mutter thing, well then it's not a new isser, it's just an absorbed isser. It's not a new concept. That's what the Shach tells the Mechaber. However, the Mechaber himself says that balua mi basar v'chalav is like basar v'chalav. Meaning, say if the flavor of basar v'chalav goes into a second thing, it does become an aveda.
But it doesn't make other pieces in the.
According to
It does.
Does it travel further indefinitely? Is that your question? Does it travel indefinitely?
This piece after you throw the piece to the other pot. So it's not going to make the other pieces nevela.
I don't know the answer to that question. How far it can travel.
If you're going to say that it's going to make the other pieces nevela, so what's going to happen? It got contact with one piece. It make this piece nevela.
right, but it's going to weaken along the way.
And if the other piece touches another piece, you're going to be like, and that's like 60 against like as many pieces as this piece.
Not only that, but it gets weaker along the way, wouldn't it? It's almost like a not bar not type of analysis at that point.
No. Not
Because
not.
no, I know I'm not saying it is
you.
not bar not, but I'm saying the
I gotta
concept
stop you.
of
No, I gotta stop you right there. Should never use not bar not by a forbidden flavor. Not bar not only applies to a
I'm
permissible
just using it as
flavor.
an analogy of weakening the flavor.
Yeah,
as
but
it
weakening doesn't
goes.
help when it's a forbidden flavor. It only helps for permissible flavor. That's a fact. Not bar not does not diminish an usser flavor. It only diminishes a mutter
I
flavor.
understand that. So take not bar not out, but I think with every piece, the initial usser weakens. So the question is it going to continue to create new novellas?
There is a concept. We never really got into it, although we mentioned it in passing several times. There is a concept that ein haneser
Yochel lesser yoser min hadavar ha'oisroi. That a forbidden thing cannot make something else also more than what made it forbidden. So that means that eventually there's going to be a point beyond which it's not going to travel. Meaning to say, if the original thing couldn't travel beyond a certain point, then what becomes usher is not going to become, also not going to travel beyond that point.
So basically, you need only 60 against the milk.
No, but that cannot be, because we know it becomes an avela. So at what point do you say, that's it?
Can we
stop
bring the
there?
Rashi and the Rizla focus into this?
No,
Where one flavor gets trapped in, it doesn't move any further, and one can
No.
go right through it?
no, that's only in that specific case where it's half in and half out. That's more of an argument about the chemistry of pots and pieces. It's not about a halachic thing. It's just a technical argument. Do pieces release flavor when they're half in and half out?
Aren't we talking about a piece releasing the flavor into a new piece?
Yeah, but not in that specific
Context?
concept of half in and half out. Okay, the bottom line is, without getting into this detail of how far it can travel on and on, because we never really went into that. It is a concept, but we never really covered it. So I'm just saying, in general, the Shach says that Basar b'chalav that travels to something else is like Shar Surim, according to the Mechaber. The Mechaber himself says no, that it's like Basar b'chalav. Meaning to say, after all, the Ramah says that everything is Nasas Nevela because it can be mistaken for Basar b'chalav. So the Mechaber, one second, the Mechaber will agree at least by actual Basar b'chalav. You understand? It's still only the Rabbanan. I want to clarify the Mechaber's view. The Mechaber obviously understands what the Shach is saying, that it's not mutter and mutter, it's a isser and a heter coming together. So it's not really Basar b'chalav mid'oraisa, but nevertheless, just like the Ramah says that even by Shar Surim we say Chatich Nas Nevela because it's similar to Basar b'chalav. So at least, even though it doesn't agree with that, at least if it's actual Basar b'chalav mixing with something else, then we'll say, okay, here at least we'll say Chanan. Because Basar and Chalav is Chanan, so Basar b'chalav and more Basar is Midrabanan Chanan.
So Sari Surim can be the Rabbanan Chanan, and Basar b'chalav is the Raisa.
Basar b'chalav itself is the Araisa. Shar Surim is the Rabbanan. Basar b'chalav with something else is also the Rabbanan, but with that the Mechaber himself agrees also.
So because Basar b'chalav is already changed the category to Nevela, and then mix up, so it become in the category of Sari Surim.
Right, exactly. With the Araisa, because it's already Aser, so it doesn't have the properties of a Basar b'chalav, which is two heter things. But Midrabanan, we're gonna.
So
Does that mean that Basar b'chalav with
One second, Yossi. I'm sorry.
Basar become Nevela because mix up with the milk. Okay, you will get title Nevela.
Yeah.
If this piece gets mixed up with another meat or depends on milk, you're gonna look it like a Sari Surim basically.
Right. No. Midaraisa like Shar Surim. Midarabanan, the Mechaber says, it's still going to be an Nevela. So that people shouldn't be confused sometimes.
So okay, it's Nevela with something neutral.
I'm sorry?
So it's going to be Sari Surim. It's not going to be Basar b'chalav.
No, it's going to be like,
Sari Surim.
it's going to be a Nevela like the Ramah says, Shari Surim is an Avela, so the Machaber at least agrees in this case.
So basically, just to sum it, if you take an Avela from Basar or and you fall into a pot with meat, okay?
And it's Batal Bashishim or it's not?
One second. You have another situation that Nevela, the beginning was Nevela, and also fell to the same size pot.
Same size? The same actual pot or the same size?
Two different examples.
Yeah.
You're going to look at it as the same.
According to the Ramah, it's the same. According to the Machaber, it's different. And in the case of the actual Nevela, you'll need 60. Only, excuse me, according to the, same, it's the same. Yeah, same.
So you get 60 against the piece.
60 against the piece, yeah.
In both situations.
Yeah. According to the Machaber, yeah.
And according to the Rama,
Also,
so it's going to be no difference.
no difference, correct. Correct. Only with Rabbanan, but nevertheless, yes, correct. As opposed to a piece that absorbed an Avela, or according to the Machaber, you would not need 60 times the whole piece, only times the flavor of the Avela. So that's where it would be different. Yossi, what do you say, sorry?
So with Basar b'chalav, the Basar and the Chalav must both be mutter, correct?
To create the Basar b'chalav Isser, yes.
So what about interesting cases where let's say it was hekdesh or it was somehow there's somehow forbidden for some other reason, but otherwise it's a kosher animal. That doesn't exist, Basar b'chalav?
That's an interesting question. That's an interesting question. Let's say it's Basar b'chalav with chalav that is chalav treifa, for argument's sake. The animal is a kosher animal, but it's a treifa. It has a punctured lung or whatever.
So which one is mixed first?
So I'm saying the milk is aser, and it mixes with meat.
How
we
about
actually discussed this. Nah, chalav stam is rabbanan. That's not gonna.
Yeah, but this is
Chalav stam is rabbanan. That's not gonna affect anything.
okay.
But the question is this: Isur d'oraisa.
We actually discussed this in the first shir concerning Basar Shchuta. Basar and Veil. We said the Rambam, Rabbi Yehuda quotes the Rambam that says that there is no Isser Hana on Basar Nevela with Chalav. Remember this? Anybody?
Yes.
Basar Nevela with Chalav. You go to the supermarket and there's a dog food with milk and meat. So certainly they used non-shechted animals. It's Basar Nevela with Chalav. Is it Aser Bahana or not?
It's not a mutter.
Can you buy it for your dog? Sorry?
The meat was Aser to begin with, right?
The meat was Aser to begin with, yes.
The milk was.
Milk was not. I mean, it was Chalav stam, whatever, but it's not.
Yeah, so you're allowed to have hana from it, but you're not allowed to eat it.
So, I mean, obviously you can't eat it anyway because it's not kosher regardless. But if you remember, the night of the Rambam said, it's interesting, he didn't say that it's not Basar b'chalav because the meat is forbidden. It wasn't so simple. He said, since the meat is already forbidden, Ein Isser Chalal Isser. Can't become doubly forbidden. Now, once Ein Isser Chalal Isser, so if the Basar is not going to become Basar b'chalav, then the Chalav can't become Basar b'chalav. It's a two-way street. It can't just be one way. And then he goes on further and he says, well, if there's no Isser Achila, then there's no Isser Hana. Because the Isser Hana and Achila are connected. When there's an Isser Achila, then the Isser Hana is comes out of that Isser Achila. If there's no Isser Achila, there's no Isser Hana.
That was the Rabbi Yehuda, and based on that, you can buy, what's it called? EMs or something? I see them. You can buy those dog foods, but not, other Achronim disagree, so it's better not. But I'm just saying, we see there that the Rambam has to come up with this whole thing. He doesn't say simple that, well, it's forbidden, so it doesn't apply.
So what do you feed the dog?
So it seems that it's not so simple. I don't know why. Not so simple.
Okay, but Basar b'chalav, once it's Basar b'chalav, becomes Sharasurim in terms of other things.
According to the Shach, the Mechaber himself says no, that it does retain the Chumrah of Basar b'chalav.
How does that work?
That's why it's not
speaking before the.
How would the Shach
in the
respond
Mechaber.
to my...
It says you, the Mechaber, you're not being consistent. Following your own logic,
But this
shouldn't
is the
apply.
Shach's position then.
No, because the Shach passes like the Ramah, because he's
That's what I was gonna
Ashkenazi.
say.
So he's telling the Mechaber what the Mechaber should be holding.
Right.
That's correct. Sorry?
How would the Shach understand my logic for saying it should be Basar b'chalav?
I already told you, because it's not a permissible chalav. It's chalav, but it's not a permissible chalav.
So if it's not a permissible chalav, then its flavor is not important.
No, it's important, but it doesn't create a new basar b'chalav.
Okay, so let me put it this way. Could I lechatchila cook my meat, cook meat for a goy with basar b'chalav, so meat with basar b'chalav?
We did discuss that actually, and also in this first year.
I don't recall
And
discussing this.
we brought poskim that say that ein bishul achar bishul, if the basar and the chalav were already cooked together in such a way that it became basar b'chalav, then there is no bishul achar bishul in that case.
Yeah, we're going.
So it's getting around the issue with a different explanation for why.
Okay, that's okay. I don't mind getting around the issue. As long as I can get out of it. I'm
All
kidding.
right.
I'm kidding. Yeah, but that's the bottom line.
Okay, I get how we're paskening. I don't fully understand.
That's the shach. It's actually not in this shir that we're learning now, but we're going to come to it later. But I thought I'd bring it in since we're discussing this anyway. All right. Anything I'm missing out on? Oh yeah, Isser Davok. Isser Davok. So in the context of talking about a Chatichanas and the Vela, the Ramah brings in the concept of Isser Davok, which means that not only does something come in a Vela if it was cooked in less than 60 times the Isser, but even if it was in a big pot and the pot has more than 60 times the Isser, but the Isser was connected to one piece in particular, so that piece becomes Asr separately. And there's two reasons for that. First of all, if the piece is naturally connected to the other piece, like for example, chelev to the meat that it's from, right? Chelev in the animal is part of the animal. So therefore, the argument can be made that the flavor is going to go first into that piece, and only then is it going to travel to the rest of the pot.
If there's liquid, you know, it's travel to the liquid from the liquid to the other pieces.
No, I'm talking about when the piece of chelev and the piece of meat are one piece, not two pieces touching each other that have to be connected through liquid. Talking about it's an actual cut from the animal that has chelev and basar, mamash, like one piece. So therefore, the chelev is going to be absorbed in the basar first, and then it's going to go everywhere else. So there, the Ramah will say that the basar becomes nevela, and that's it. And you need 60 times the whole piece.
not just times the chaylev.
The Mechaber said become Nevela?
No, because the Mechaber doesn't hold the Chanan B'Shar Yisrael anyway. Even if it would be the only pieces in the pot. Another point is,
So how we deal with that? Both these pieces in a pot. 60.
Yeah, but 60 times the chaylev, not times the piece. Only times the chaylev. Okay, now another.
Because of Basar B'chala.
No, we're not talking about chalav. We're talking about chaylev.
There's no way to
Yeah, bad.
the Mechaber and then Chanan B'Shar V'Isur, only Basar B'Chala.
Correct.
You just said that the Mechaber holding it at Chanan B'Shar V'Isur.
No,
You just said it.
I did not.
With the Chaylev. You said with the Chaylev B'Shar V'Isur, and become Nevela, come to the Mechaber.
Me?
Just now.
What? You have to rewind the tape.
Sorry, what was that?
No.
I said the Mechaber holding Chanan B'Shar V'Isur.
No.
Just said it a minute ago.
What?
And this is why I said like.
Not in this example, in the previous context.
Which previous context?
You were talking about, what we were just talking about with the Shach, where the Shach argues on inconsistency.
By Basar B'chalav.
The Mechaber holding only Basar B'Chala.
Correct. Correct. But the Mechaber
Except in
himself.
that one example where you have an event.
One example that the Mechaber will agree with the Ramah is when Basar B'chalav goes into another piece of Basar. That's when he'll agree with the Ramah.
But for a different reason.
Just maybe
But that's not an Isser Dalet.
Okay. So another reason that the Ramah says what he says about an Isser Davok and why it becomes an Avela is if the
Isser is Davok, the heter is connected.
What's
to the
Davuk
heter.
again?
I'm sorry, Davok is connected.
Connected.
V'dabek libeinu v'mitzvasecha.
right? Dveikos. If it's connected to the Isser is connected to the heter, so we're afraid that it may have popped out of the pot for a little bit. Maybe when you were stirring it, maybe when you took it out, maybe you emptied the other things first. So even if you have 60 against the Isser in the pot, but at one point, maybe this piece will remain with the Isser separately, and you will not have the rest of the pot to nullify the flavor, and it will absorb the flavor on its own. So that's another reason to be strict. All right?
Usually 60 open.
And to say that the piece becomes an avela, and therefore you'll need 60 against the whole piece. Against the whole piece. Correct. Now, as far as,
and the Isser himself.
of course, the Isser for sure, but not only the Isser, but also the piece. Now, certainly, the idea that it's going to absorb the flavor first only applies if it's something that's naturally connected.
Yeah.
Whereas if you stick them, chaylev, anything like that. Whereas if you stick two pieces together with a toothpick, that's not an Isser Davok as far as that's concerned. But then as far as the idea that it could come out of the pot for a little bit, so then perhaps it applies even if it's not naturally connected. But the fact is that it is connected. Like for example, the Taz talks about a piece of fish. The kosher fish has inside of it a non-kosher fish. So even though they're not naturally one, but the fact is that they may come out of the pot for a second and become usher, and therefore you'll need 60 against the fish as well.
Was that the worm in the fish?
The worm, exactly, the worm in the fish. Yeah. All right. Oh, if you discuss that. Well, first, let me ask you this: do we say Hanan by Kalim?
Yeah.
Yes. Simple.
No. And
Moshe says no. Michal says yes.
that's a-
Oh, you just said
Yeah,
nothing.
it's okay.
Well, that's too easy.
By Caleb.
Yeah. Do we say Hanan by Kalim?
I don't recall saying that.
You mentioned it now.
So
The
the
difference-
halacha is as follows.
Ben Yomo, Rabbi? Ben Yomo?
Sorry?
Ben Yomo, not Ben Yomo?
Yeah.
Oh, so here's the thing. We certainly don't say Hanan by the walls of the Kalim. The walls of the Kalim are not going to become an Avela because
Absolutely not. You'd never be able to kasher them then, would you?
well, yeah, that too.
It's the flavor inside the walls.
Oh, although for argument's sake, some say that we do say Hanan by Kli Cheres, precisely because you can't kasher it. So therefore, some say you do say Hanan.
But you
But-
don't need to even. Yeah, there's no need to say that because you just say you can never get it out. The flavor will always be in there.
I understand, but if you say that that the flavor becomes so unified with the object to the extent that you can't take it out, so some say that the actual volume of the walls is considered like it's a piece of the vela. So you have to measure if this pot cooks something or whatever, you need to
But we
know
do that anyway. We do that with a metal pot.
Sorry?
We would do that with a metal pot anyway. We
No,
include the entire volume.
You would not. You would figure out how much the metal pot absorbed, and you would only need to nullify what it absorbed.
But when have we ever done that? We've always said that we assume that the whole thing could possibly absorb.
All of the walls can possibly absorb, but they can only absorb as much as you cooked in them. If you only cook 1 teaspoon of lard,
Some people hold that if you only have a teaspoonful in there, the whole pot becomes treif.
Exactly, it magnifies it.
Do we hold like that?
I don't remember.
It doesn't sound like
It's really a Taruvas issue. We don't really.
that opinion is kind of quoted here, but we didn't really get into it. Let me just tell you. I'll tell you if I can find it quickly. יש גם מי שסובר שבכלל גוף הכתירה עצמה נס כנבלה כיוון שאין לו תקנה בעגלה ויש להפך ממנה איסר. שם עושים את צער חס, אלא עושים את זרש סף זין, יסבור עוד מדינים אלו. I don't really remember. It's time to do some review of
Taruvas.
I think we should learn it next year. I think we should get a group of people and we'll do that on the side.
On the side. Another hour.
One second, I had something open here before. It's Simmons had a chesef hey. I'll answer that shortly. So that you shouldn't be kept in suspense till next year or whenever it might be. Say מדוע כמה יסר כגוין כף חדשה ישנו בסיים ולא יאמין לגבי כלי חתי חנף נבלה אפילו נראה בו יסר. יש שאין מחלק בין קו יושן לחדש רק בין כלי חרס לשאר כלים ואוהים זה בכלי חרס דאי אפשר להפרד עשר די הגולה מן הכלי נס הנבלה ולא בשאר וטויב לא חוש לחומרה.
Good idea if you...
The Rama gives you a toiv. You get extra points if you are strict and you consider a kli cheres like an aveda. Only cheres, not other kelim. Now, when it comes to an absorbed flavor, you were saying ben yamin, not ben yamin. When it comes to an absorbed flavor in kelim, so then the main halacha is that yes, that flavor can become an aveda. Not the kelim, but the
Well,
flavor.
hang on a second. But we learn later on with the spoons that the Machaber's famous 120 did.
Yep.
After that first dip, the keli is like it's an avela.
Yep.
The spoon being the keli.
Yep. I'm with you, yeah.
So in this particular case, because it's not talking about meat and milk, it's talking about kela. So is that like a sharisorum analysis? On a keli?
Whoa. That case of the spoon was basar b'challah.
Right, I understand that.
So
But this case, but here, we're not talking about basar b'challah.
we can if you want to. I mean, according to the Ramah, where Hanan applies to Shar Surim, we can talk about Shar Surim. But if you want to talk Mechaber, we can talk Basar B'challah, it's no problem. I'm saying each one according to what they hold.
You mean, so the flavor is the one that goes into the cake?
The flavor that's in the keli already can perhaps become an aveda. Now, the truth is that there is an opinion, which is not the main halacha, there's an opinion that says no. That flavor in kelim, it's not important enough to be given the status of an aveda. Even though it's there, and we care about it, and we count it towards 60, whatever, but it's not important enough to give the status of an aveda.
Absorb as strong as an actual piece of meat.
Really?
I'm not finding the reason right now, but
It has to do with the fact that it's not an important thing. It's just, we don't give the status of an avela to something so negligible as this. So the point is that opinion is something worth remembering because we do rely on that opinion sometimes, even though it's not the main halacha.
The stamp Neville is not like something edible.
Has to be edible, sure.
Kelly is not something edible.
No.
Not gonna be.
No. I'm talking about now. I mean, before we were talking about the klicheres and so on, but now we're talking about the. One second. I'm talking about the flavor that's in the pot.
How does it help us if that's not nevela?
I'm saying it's an edible flavor. It's an edible flavor. If you could extract it.
You could eat it.
Can you send just the flavor out of the spoon, out of the keli?
I mean, we believe that you can.
flavor?
When you do hagala, what's the pshat?
Can you put just the flavor in the bowl?
When you do hagala, what do we believe? We believe that you are actually successfully extracting the flavor. You can't see it, you can't taste it, you can't smell it. I don't know, akasha, but we believe that you're doing that.
But not only flavor, you could also extract the
Okay, no, my point is,
gizzard, hanan.
That's what I'm saying.
my point is you don't stamp the keli as an aveda.
No, not the keli itself. The question is the flavor.
The question in the beginning.
Talking about the keli, right? Talking about the keli. What do you say, Yossi?
First question, how does it help us if we don't consider it nevela? What do we consider it and how does that help us?
How does it help us? It helps us in terms of not needing 60 times it.
Okay, so if I understand correctly, when we're talking about the flavor in the pot, we're not talking about where we accidentally cooked basar b'chalav in the pot, because that's definitely nevela, because it's a flavor of nevela, yeah?
Right.
We are only talking about where I had milchig in the pot, and then I cooked fleischig in the pot, or vice versa, and we're saying that what's in the wall is not considered nevela, but they've got to have been cooked separately.
Well, again, we're saying the main halacha is that it is.
I get that.
Nevela, but the opinion that is lenient would say that in general, the flavor does not go into the walls and turn the flavor in the walls into a nevela. That's correct.
So what is
whether basar b'chalav or other isurim, just doesn't work.
Okay, so we consider it not kosher, but not nevela.
Correct.
So so can you give me a practical example for how that helps us?
Very simple. Let's say you know how much forbidden flavor is in a spoon, as opposed to flavor that was previously in the spoon but was not forbidden. If you say chatiganas neveda, then you need 60 times all of the flavor in the spoon. If you don't say chatiganas neveda, then you only need 60 times the forbidden flavor that just went into the spoon now.
Right. No, I don't get it.
The spoon was used this morning for, porridge. So it has porridge permissible flavor. and then you by mistake used it for let's just simple talk about Shari Surim. You used it for something forbidden. That's all, but not with a large amount of that thing. So a very small amount of that thing. So if you don't say Hanan, so then the spoon only has let's say a few drops of a forbidden flavor in it. If you put it in another pot and you have 60 times those drops, you're okay. But if you say Hanan, so then the flavor of the porridge from this morning has been transformed into a nevela flavor, following the Ramah's opinion that we say Hanan Bashar Soren. So the flavor can become nevela, and then you'll need 60 times all of the flavor absorbed in the spoon.
Okay, I thought we were talking about Basar B'Cholav specifically here.
No.
But when the things got
According to the Machaber, yeah, it won't apply unless by Basar B'Cholav, but it's simpler to
what,
speak about Shari Surim, according to the
but
Ramah.
when anything come the nevela, automatically will not do the nevela.
Sorry?
If you get the spoon, it become nevela, right? So if
That's what we're discussing, yeah.
yes, and when you mix it with another things, it just because of the, only the time is you said it's only Hanan or whatever, it's like it's not Ben Yomo, you can say it's okay. I have asking the question happens, but with the spoon it become nevela. If the spoon is not Ben Yomo, is less strict than
If the spoon is not banyama, it's the same as a new spoon. We need to say it doesn't have any flavor that's edible, so there's no concept of nasas nevela by such a spoon.
And if it's in the morning,
If it's ben yoimai, then the flavor could become an nevela according to most opinions.
and that's what we are about.
Main halacha, yeah.
So you mean you have a flavor that is also those what has to be done? I understand if you have a meat pot and it's some meat inside it, and then you get the flavor of milk and becomes. I don't know, but what if it's ben yoimai?
It's ben yoimai from a permissible flavor, and then you use it for forbidden flavor. So the whole flavor will become an nevela.
According to Ramah.
Ramah, yeah.
Only the spoon that get the flavor from meat and milk, okay?
Yeah.
With another 60 spoons. You know which spoon is enough.
In general, do you say bittul by kalim? Is that your question? Do you say bittul by kalim? Do you say bittul by kalim? So it's actually machlokes. Some say that you don't say bittul by kalim because it's efsher. Well, what's that? It's davar sheish l'matirin. You can fix it. Others say no, davar sheish l'matirin doesn't apply because it's a tircha, it's a bother.
Only for food, I said, no? Only for kalim?
What's the difference?
I know.
It's not only about food, it's about muktzah also. An item is muktzah, after Shabbos is not muktzah, mixes in on Shabbos.
Can you give example of the Rosh Hashanah on food?
On food, chadash is forbidden until Pesach and it's permissible after Pesach. If it mixes before Pesach, everything is also even 1,000 times. Chametz on Pesach, right? Well, there's another reason because it's a chorus.
So we don't say batul shishim batul.
Oh, so there's a machlokes about that. So the main halacha, if I'm not mistaken, is that we do allow bittul by kalim, even without 60, as long as you have a roiv, as long as you have a majority. But if I'm not mistaken, you're supposed to wait at least till the end of 24 hours. So it shouldn't be a good flavor. It should be an isser problem at least. If I'm not mistaken, that's what the Shach says in Targus. Okay.
But
So
what is going to be a flavor from something hard? Is it going to be?
Chorif still goes bad after 24 hours. Chorif still goes bad after 24 hours. What Chorif does is that it wakes up something that was more than 24 hours old, it wakes it up.
but the charif itself goes bad after 24 hours. It doesn't stay good. Okay, my friends. If I'm not mistaken, you just wait 24 hours and it's batal b'roiv, if I'm not mistaken. There's different shittas about it in Tarabas, but that's what the Shach says, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so a little bit about Davar Shesh Matirin, since we're talking about Davar Shesh Matirin. A little bit about Davar Shesh Matirin in this context of Chaticha Nasis Nevela.
How come into effect on the Basar Shalom when you got the mix? There's no material.
There's no material about Basar. So,
By the way, is Chadash something we worry about particularly at the moment?
I'm sorry?
Chadash. When I was in New York, all the shops had Yashan all over them.
Right.
But it's something that I hadn't encountered until I went there.
Right.
Is Chadash something that we worry about?
Depends who the we is.
I'd never encountered it until I went to New York.
So, Ashkenazi world used to not worry about it because there's different opinions within the Achronim that are makel about it. The Beis Yosef, the Mechaber himself, is strict about it, and many Sfardim are strict about it. That being said, within the past 20 or 30 years, there's been a movement, mostly in the Yeshiva Shavelt, like the Lakewood and that the group, not so much the Hasidic Shavelt, more the Yeshiva Shavelt. There's been a movement to be strict about the Chadash. And that's why you find it, not just in New York, you even find it in Miami. That's a big Chiddush.
Really?
Even in Miami, you'll find signs about Yashan. Right. Well, he says the Olam is Mekel. He brings the main halachas to be strict, but he also says the Olam is Mekel based on this and that.
Who said that, sorry?
Alter Rebbe in Hilchos Pesach.
Was he strict?
Was he personally strict? I don't know. But he says the main halachas to be strict, but he does bring that the custom is to be lenient. So, yeah, what can I say? Most Hasidim are lenient. There's a tradition that the Baal Shem Tov relied on the Bach, who was lenient. Such a tradition. So it's hard to go against a tradition like that. But anyway, I know that there are some Chabad people who are strict, because in the Tzemach Tzedek, it seems like the Tzemach Tzedek is strict. Okay, so
17 hours. I'm staying.
Atzlacha. B'kasha. Okay, so when you have something that is Davar Shesh Matirin, so it's not going to be bottled even in 1,000. Now, if that mixes into something else, right? The thing is not going to be bottled in 1,000. That thing mixes into 1,000, let's say, right? Now, one of that 1,000 falls into another group. Does it go endlessly on and on? It's basically a question of Hanan. That's what it is. You have a Davar Shesh Matirin, Chadash, whatever, falls into 1,000. Now, do we say that this is all like that thing itself, which is Davar Shesh Matirin? And therefore, if one of these 1,000 falls into another 1,000, is also Davar Shesh Matirin? Or do we say no? No. The first one, yes, but doesn't go beyond that. So the Shaykh and the Taz both discuss this. And the bottom line is that if an actual piece, an actual solid piece comes from the mixture, the first mixture, goes into another mixture, yes, it's not bottling in 1,000. But if it's only a flavor of something that is Yesh Matirin. Now, if the flavor of the thing itself, that's Davar Shesh Matirin, would get mixed into something, it would not be bottled. My battery is running low, Yossi, and I did not bring my cord.
Okay.
So if I run out, I actually did charge my phone, not for that reason, but it so happens that I have charge on my phone. So just call back and I'll be able to answer on my phone, hopefully.
Well, if you can join the Hangout from your phone, then
I'm sorry?
if you can join the Hangout from your phone, then it will all be.
Oh, then it'll be
recorded.
seamless.
Yep.
Let me see if I can do that right now. Yossi Mills invited you to a video call. Hangouts. Ongoing video call. The video call's already over, so how do I?
That's probably the first one that I invited you to. I then stopped that one and invited you to a later one. That's the one you're on.
I'm not sure how to rejoin on the phone.
I can send you another invitation. The other thing you could do, if somebody there...
I think I'm just calling you.
No, you're just calling me.
That's not going to help. Yeah, what do you say, sorry?
The other thing you could do if that doesn't work is, okay, I'm sending you another invitation. You should be receiving another invitation now.
Yes.
I'm not sure how to get the invitation on my phone. That's the problem.
If there's somebody else there with an Android phone with Hangouts installed, I could also send it to them.
Not sure how to do this. Okay, I don't know. No, that's still you. It's not going to work.
Does anybody there have an Android phone with Hangouts?
Android?
Yeah. Yeah, you can come here. You want.
Okay, what's that person's Gmail address?
What's your Gmail?
My Gmail or to the Gmail? And if there is a Gmail on this account. Gmail to this one. Usually it's Yahoo. Which Gmail account is this one? Do you remember?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
What
okay.
is that? Really?
Yeah. Okay. So now just
Ronnie Davidzada.
Sorry, RONNIE.
RONI, one N,
RNI.
dot DAVI.
Delta Alpha Victor. Yep.
Yep,
India Delta.
yep. And then Zebra A, David A at gmail.com. Davidzada.
Okay. Ronnie.davidzada@gmail.com. It's not recognizing him as a Google Hangouts person. He's got Google Plus, yeah?
I don't know. He has Hangouts on his phone. I don't know.
I've seen it. Yeah. I got the invitation now.
Oh, Yossi invited me to a video call.
So just accept that, and you'll
Okay, we did. Okay. Okay, can you hear it? Hello? Yossi?
Yep.
No, not from there, on the phone.
I got it on my phone. Okay,
Oh,
fine.
you got it?
I got it on my phone.
See, I'm gonna go
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
my
turn off the laptop.
laptop has been turned off, whether I like it or not. All right, so you can turn it off. Okay, so
We know it's working now.
as far as the flavor of a davar sheyesh lematirin, so the Shach holds that we do not say that it becomes an aveda to the extent that the flavor is going to travel on indefinitely.
Regarding what we spoke before about the Basar material itself, but only if it's solid.
Right.
So let's say if you're taking like beer that's made from oats or from wheat, okay, that's made from chadash.
Yep.
And this liquid get mixed up with another liquid. It's all going to be also.
Yeah, it should be also. It should be also.
But if it's flavored, it's good. You could bottle it for another drop.
If it's flavor, I'm not talking about an isser that is a liquid, but if it's a flavor that comes out of a solid, I use Citron, left this video call, why is that? If it's a flavor that comes out of a solid, meaning to say it's not the original davar sheyesh matir. It's a davar sheyesh matir mixed into another mixture. And then a flavor comes out of one of those things, then we don't say that it's like an avela, meaning to say that it's like the original davar sheyesh matir, and that anything that comes out of it is also not going to be bottled. Rather, that flavor can be bottled. That's what the Shach holds.
So why, before you started, for this, the davar sheyesh matir,
Yep.
went to 1,000. I went from 1,000 to another 1,000.
Yeah. The item itself is not going to be bottled. But if the flavor of one of those 1,000 items mixes into something else, just
So
the flavor,
it's endless.
the actual piece itself is endless. But let's say one of those 1,000 falls somewhere else, but you see the piece, so you take it out, even though the flavor got out, it's okay. You can still, that can be bottled. The flavor of the thing that is a mixture of davar sheyesh matir, and that can be bottled. That's the bottom line. I mean, there's a long shach and long taz, but that's how the shach.
So the flavor can be
Flavor of the mixture, flavor of something.
If it's oats, it's falling to a wheat.
The whole thing of davar sheyesh matir is only by min b'minai. The whole thing of davar sheyesh matir is
So
only
if
by
it's
min b'minai.
oats, it's falling into 1,000 wheat.
Doesn't apply. The whole thing about it does not apply by min b'shein amina. Min b'shein amina is batal b'shishim. It doesn't need the whole thing. The whole chumrah about davar sheyesh matir only applies to min b'minai. Yes, same flavor. Okay, my friends. With no further ado, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's the same call. We managed to get it into the same call. Okay, my friends. Now we go on to the famous drop on the pot. Outside of the pot. We talked about a drop falling inside the pot, in the meat, on the piece of meat, top, on the side, whatever, all those details. Now, if it falls on the outside of the pot, much more complicated. So, bottom line is, we said, if it falls opposite the roitav, meaning to say, on the part of the pot that beneath. If it falls beneath the roitav,
food line is what we're looking at.
Let's start with that. Then what?
If it falls within the food line,
Yeah, above that.
you need 60.
Then you just need 60 times that drop. That's all very simple. Why? Because there's two possibilities. Either it spreads or it doesn't spread. If it spreads, it's nullified. And if it doesn't spread, it doesn't spread. So there's no problem.
right?
Also, you said it is very close to the bottom, heat spread it out. But that's even more, that's
Oh,
now with
it's
6.
very close to the bottom. What?
You need fire.
That's something else. If it's under the food line, you don't have to worry about the fire. That whole thing about the fire is if it's above the food line, which makes trouble, but nevertheless the fire can burn it up. Okay, that's something else. But if it's below the food line, so we say either it spreads, and it
In which
becomes
case it's nullified.
exactly, or it doesn't spread and it stays right there. It
In
doesn't
which
move.
case it doesn't harm anyone, and there's not enough to be a problem.
Exactly. As long as it's 60 against the tipa, that's fine, against the drop. If, however, it falls above the line, then we have a problem. Because we said that perhaps it does spread, but perhaps it doesn't spread all the way down to the food. And therefore it's able to make the amount of flavor absorbed in the pot usher up to 60, 59.99, right? In theory, up to that amount it's able to make usher. And then the food that's on the bottom might absorb from that side of the wall and become usher. Unless the food has 60 times that 60. 3,600, exactly. Times the drop. Then really there's nothing to worry about. But if it doesn't have, although lechatchila, you still wouldn't want it to touch that area because lechatchila, we don't want it to get that, forbidden flavor. But yeah, certainly there won't be an issue. But if you don't have 3,600 times the drop,
So
right?
since that the drop was above the line spreading to the whole pot?
Well, no. If it spreads to the whole pot, then you'll be okay because it'll go into the liquid, into the flavor, and it'll mix. It'll be batal l'shisha. We're concerned with the chashash that maybe it only spreads on the top. From the drop,
As long as it's above the food line.
only till times 60, like that.
Without touching the food.
But not maybe not going down to the food. Maybe it's all a chashash. We don't know. We don't know how it works. But if it does that, then you could have a problem because the food on the inside might absorb from that part of the pot that absorbed now this forbidden flavor.
So that's only a problem according to the person, the opinions that consider that it becomes nevela. But according to that other opinion that you just brought up, it's not a problem at all.
Absolutely. If you say that there's no such thing as chaticha nasas avela in the absorbed flavor of a pot, you have nothing to worry about. Nothing. Which is actually something that does come into play.
So this is what I said. It's going to be a new pot, you have no problem.
A new pot, for sure you have no problem. But we said before, there are some opinions that say even an absorbed flavor is not becoming a vela. And that's why, if you go to Seif Zion of Tzadik Beis, right, 92:7, you'll see, Shas Avchak, you're going to Erev Shabbos, Afilu Shaloi Keneged Aroidav, Afilu Shaloi Keneged Eish, Ayidei Shishin, Ochino, yeah. In 92:7, in Tzadik Beis Zion, it says that on Erev Shabbos, you can be lenient as long as you have 60 against the drop. So some say that that's based on the opinion that you don't have a nam by kelim. Some say. I mean, there's different ways of learning pshat in that seif. We'll get to it later. But I'm just saying, so that opinion does play in over here. All right. So the main halacha in that case is what to do, my friends. If it's above the line, what do you do?
Or
Pour it out before it goes up.
Exactly. Better to let it cool or better to pour?
Better to let it cool first.
take it off the fire.
You take off the fire, let it cool, because that way there's less chance that it'll go up.
It's going to spread because.
And if it does go up, then it isn't a problem because it wasn't hot.
Right. That's for sure. Correct.
So it could be 59 point what we said 3,600, but to avoid that scenario, that's
No, if you have times 3,600,
then it's
if you
not
have
a problem.
that,
But
then it's not going to be a problem. But you're still going to want to let it cool lechatchila, because after all, we don't want in the first place to mix in this bad flavor. But if you didn't, you're going to be okay.
Yeah. Okay, Again, explain how we got to the 3,600. It's
Because
above the food
it's
line.
60 times 60. It spreads above the food line times itself, up to 60 times itself. So now you have a splotch of nevela, which is 60 times a drop, and then you need 60 times that area. So 60 times 60 is 3,600.
We're being excruciatingly cautious. We're saying that possibly it went to just the maximum, it spread to the maximum level that it could possibly be before it would become bottle, which is 60
Exactly.
times, which
Exactly.
is, however highly unlikely, it's a worst
Exactly.
case scenario. And we're then saying, therefore, you need 60 times that. Which actually, if you think about it, isn't a problem in many instances. If you're talking about literally a drop
Right.
is going to be a quarter of a milliliter or something like that. And
Right.
as long as you've got more than a liter in there, more than a quart, you're going to be fine. But if you're talking
Absolutely.
about a spill as opposed to a drop, then you're talking about a much bigger quantity. However, the spill is likely to run further down below the water level. Below the water level.
Right.
So you've got to be extremely unlucky to get a drop that's bigger than 1/3,600th, which it sounds like a big number, but if you think that
Not a big number. In the notes on the shiurim, somebody figured it out, and it's like what do they say there? It's like a cup. It's like a cup of water, basically.
4 times 5.3 milliliters. Just not
4 revius? Yeah, not so big.
4 reverse for what?
For what is that? 3,600 times a drop.
A large cup
5
of.
ounces. 5 liters.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that's 3,600 times a drop. Is that what it was?
Well, it depends on how big your drop is, but yeah.
48 at least 20 fluid.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how what drop they used, but somebody came up with that. 4
But where
revius.
you would run into a big problem potentially is where you have a pot that has a very small amount of stuff at the bottom. So let's say
Right. Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. That would be a problem. Okay, the bottom line is that the Mechaber brought the custom to be strict and not to eat this food at all if you don't have 3,600 times. Even not to allow you to let it cool off. Should be because maybe while it's cooling off, maybe it jumped up a little bit and drew the flavor back in. So that's
I don't understand that. Why not? You see, this is probably one of the.
Oh, it's still bubbling a little bit. It goes up a little bit. Pulls down the flavor.
Yeah, so I don't get this because the Mechaber allows a guy to taste it.
Mechaber brings it. The Rambam doesn't argue, so it seems that lechatchila, that's correct. That's what we go by. The Scotch tape itself.
Did you mute yourself? I can see you speaking, but I can't hear you. It now looks as if you've frozen.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, I'm not sure what that was all about. Okay, so again, minhag, strict, main halacha, just let it cool. And if it's on Erev Shabbos or there's guests, then you can go back to the main halacha and let it cool, or even spill it out other side.
Even if it's a
And
1 in 60.
And exactly. And some say that you can even be lenient even if you didn't split out the other side, and you could just rely on 1 in 60 and not 1 in 3600, considering the fact that all of these things are all a chumrah and a chumrah and a chumrah. Maybe it's spread up to that amount, maybe not. And even if it's spread, maybe it's spread down and it became nullified. And maybe there's no chanan by kalim anyway. All of these different things. So some say we don't have to be strict.
So how come the Mechaber doesn't just say, get a goy to taste it? Because really, in practice, you're rarely ever going to have any taste difference at all whatsoever as a result of this splash on the outside of a keli. So either he's assuming that it goes...
No, I'm going to stop you right there. And I want to ask you to answer your own question. Now that you're almost a year into learning Basar B'chalav, I'm going to ask you to answer your own question. And the class is invited to do the same. Why does the Mechaber not ask you to invite your local guy to taste the chalent and tell you if it tastes like Basar B'chalav or not? No, the Mechaber does. Remember, the Mechaber lived in Arabic lands. The Arabs are so nice and helpful, and they can trust them.
They were back then.
That's true, more than the Christians. Anyway, so what do you say, no?
In this case?
Yeah.
So what if he's not going to taste it?
He's not going to taste it. Good, enjoy.
Still.
Why?
Maybe he's not a mumcha.
So get a mumcha. What do you mean? Go to the restaurant and ask. So if he can't taste it, he can't taste it. Finished. I mean, the Mechaber relies on the Goyish chef. So if you rely on him, so rely on him. Finish. I'm asking why. Or Yossi's asking why. When it comes, one second. When it comes to a piece of meat falling into a pot of milk, you'll rely on a goy. So why can't you rely on him with
you won't taste the nevela?
Breading, It's so much less strict than milk.
I would think that it's because you can't taste the nevela.
That's it. Thank you very much. That's it. You cannot taste the chaticha nasas nevela. In other words, the flavor in the side of the walls is a meat flavor. And that's undiscernible. The fact is that it's a nevela meat flavor, but it's a meat flavor. The guy is not going to be able to tell that. Any min b'mino the guy cannot detect. It can only detect a different flavor. So the fact is, he's not going to detect the milk flavor. But it's not only the milk flavor that's asa. There's a meat flavor that's also asa. That's indetectable. All right.
This is where the shach comes in, yeah.
Not sure.
We've got the Basar B'chalav in the wall of the pot, and so the Basar B'chalav is now going into the food.
Yeah, no, you don't need the shop for that. You don't need the shop for that. If this food would then mix into another food, then you would need the shach.
But we're talking about the nevela in the pot mixing with the food.
The basar b'chalav, which is nevela according to all opinions, in the pot mixing with the food. That's correct. Everybody says that is nevela, no question about it. The question is if this food then mixes with another pot.
I see.
I'll have it out. But the nevela on the walls is definitely a nevela.
Yeah.
When you say, if you have, what do they say, like a pressing need,
Yeah.
that you can be more lenient?
Yep.
Is that only in the case of Shabbos? Or
No.
Is that like a hefsed
No,
meruba
that's
type
just
of
an
thing?
example.
But it doesn't use the term hefsed meruba, that's what I'm saying.
If
So-
you're about to embarrass a whole lot of people in a wedding.
Sorry?
I think a little while ago I told you my story about a wedding where there were a whole lot of people who might have been embarrassed if the food got recalled.
Right. Yeah, let me just look at the language. Yesh mishamater.
I'm just trying to figure
Shas
out
achak.
how
Kid
that
going.
differs from a hefsed meruba.
Kegoin. It's the Erev Shabbos. He just gives an example of Erev Shabbos.
Okay, but is that or is that
No,
not a hefsed
that's fine.
meruba?
No, that's not. But that Hefsed Meruba is a valid Shas Chak as well.
Okay,
Shas
that's
Chak
what
just
I'm
means an emergency. The emergency could be Erev Shabbos. It could be guests. It could
Or it could be
be
a
great financial loss. It could
That's
be
what
a
I-
very upset wife. And there's all kinds of emergency situations.
Wow,
Okay.
sounds like I can run a completely treif kitchen if my wife will get upset.
Well, you know, it's within reason, of course. She has to have a reason to be upset, not just stump.
Yeah, because she's my wife.
Well, whatever. Everything has to be judged in the situation. Okay, now Moshe mentioned this earlier, and that is that if the drop fell opposite the fire, then we could presume that the fire dried it up before it could.
What does it mean opposite the fire?
Oh, so in those days they used to perhaps put a pot into an actual oven, with the fire on the side of it, you know what I mean, like a pizza oven, where you had a fire sitting on the side of the oven and you would put the pot, you would set it down next to the fire.
How are you going to get a drop in an oven?
Well, the drop might fall in from the top of the oven, which may have been open, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
right, like a tandoori oven. Okay.
Splattered down or whatever. So, but the thing is, nowadays we don't really have that because we don't cook that way.
Well, the fact when you share it is always.
So he's saying it fell on the cooler side. And that's-
No, if it falls opposite the fire,
Then it's on a cooler side.
no, then it's burned by the fire. Here, the fire's here.
Yeah,
If it fell on this side,
that's clearly a hotter side.
so it's going to be dried up by the fire before it gets a chance to make an evaluation. That's all. It's an exception to this whole thing. If it's a small amount, if it's just a few drops. If it's a large amount, then the fire's not going to fall. It doesn't really apply nowadays. We don't really have that. All right, then we discussed the issue of spillages going around, overflows from pots,
Sure, man.
going from one pot to another.
If it runs along the bottom of the oven, all that.
Exactly. No? Speak to me. Tell me. Anybody?
If the flow is continuous, it's a problem.
Sorry?
If the flow is continuous,
If it's a continuous flow, then it's considered what?
it's
Chaining.
No. If it's continuous flow, then it's a irimically rishon. If it's not a continuous,
Yeah.
if it's
A spill isn't an evil.
a spill that is not continuous is going to be a klisheni,
Right.
because it's on a surface.
It's not connected.
It's not connected. A spill that is continuous
Yeah.
is going to be a kli, is irimically rishon. And an irimically rishon is going to be kedei klipa. But if it's not, if it's a klisheni, so not only is it going to make, is it not going to make trouble, but it's even going to cool something off. Because as a klisheni, exactly, even if you put something hot on it, it cools it off. Tatar Gover, exactly. And we did mention that there are strict opinions about klishenis in general. Some opinions say klisheni can.
For Shabbos especially.
I'm sorry?
For Shabbos especially.
Well, Shabbos, some say it even cooks. Here we're not saying it cooks, but perhaps it can make flavors be absorbed. So, but the Ramah himself doesn't go by that. So, according to the Ramah, the basically, if this flow goes under a pot, or you put down a pot, let's say on top of this flow, it's not going to make any trouble. Now, if the pot itself is hot, so that's the ilah, right? So then, in general, you need a ketei klipa, so the pot will have to be kosher, but the contents of the pot will not be a problem, right?
So let's say this pot was hot and you have to be kosher the pot or the klipa.
The klipa will be kosher, just kosher.
If you empty the pot and put it on the fire, it's going to be enough for it?
Oh, how to kosher something? Can you kosher it with klipa?
Only the bottom trouble, like with the klipa. Not from the whole pot, basically, So you empty the pot on what you have and put it on the fire.
Well, generally, a libun kal is the same as hagel. If you heat it up to the extent.
Do you need the whole pot to libun, or only the bottom of the pot? Because this is where the milk come in contact with.
The bottom of the pot would be the ketei klipa.
You could just kosher that at the bottom of the pot. There's a machlekes about chamek tzasecham kulei, right? So there's a machlekes if it travels or not. But we discussed that. But the bottom line is you could just kosher that spot, because even if it spread.
Chametz have to be directly on the fire to get this dip.
Sorry.
If it's hot but it's off the fire, you're not going to have the din chametz or chametz.
Did we say that?
I'm asking.
I don't know.
To have the din chametz to be on the fire.
That's an interesting question. I don't know.
Because if you start with the sticks it on the fire, like the whole things. Like
Yeah, I know what you mean. Not sure about that. Okay, so the bottom line is if a flow comes to let's say a hot flow that's still connected, so it's an ir mikli rishon, comes to a pot that is sitting there.
on the fire or on the fire?
Let's say the pot is not on the fire.
Hot, cold.
Let's say it's a cold pot. Cold pot.
The reverse on top.
And the liquid is coming hot.
It's sitting on the counter, and the liquid that's coming to it is hot, still connected,
Hits it on the top.
and it hits it on the side. It's traveling along the counter, right? So it hits it on the side like that.
Consider if it's conducted that way, it's clear issue.
So it should be an ear of milkly region, and you should just kasha the pot, right? What about the fact that it's not really top and bottom? I mean, where's top and where's bottom? It's on the side, and maybe some of it will go underneath a little bit.
Don't we say the thing that is stationary is on the bottom?
Oh, so that's exactly what we said. The Rashba says that the thing that's in its place is considered the bottom. The thing that's moving is considered the top. So that's why the pot that's sitting there is the bottom.
So if it hits this way, it's almost like a vertical.
Right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, a horizontal.
Yeah,
Tatagavar.
exactly.
Think of it that way.
Right.
Because this is stationary, which is analogous to something that can't move because it's flat on the bottom. And instead of the top coming down, it's coming across.
Exactly. Although we did say that there are strict opinions, specifically the Chavas Das, that says no. If the flow would actually go underneath it, because the pots are not necessarily flat, exactly flush to the surface. So the Chavas Das brings that perhaps the bottom would be considered physical bottom, even though it's coming from somewhere else. And therefore, if it is from a Kli Rishon still connected, so maybe it would make the whole pot. Maybe, exactly. Maybe the whole pot would become awesome. So that's it's an opinion, something to think about.
It's usually something hot that comes in contact with something cold, will cool himself down.
Well, usually the bottom one cools off, yeah. Usually the bottom one cools off. Just to go back to the drop that falls, by the way, the drop that falls on the top of a pot, what's the halacha? We discussed the sides. What if it falls on the top?
The cover.
On the
Cover.
cover.
Yeah.
If it's hot, it's like the pot himself.
You have the vapors.
I'm saying, do you with 3600 or what or how? 1 in 60, that's it? What?
No, but the best point of it is the vapor.
Tell me both.
If the pot was hot enough,
Yeah. Yeah.
so the cover considers the pot. So it means that it's like it fall above the
food line.
Above the food line?
It's not considered above the food line if there is a lot of vapor.
That's exactly the question. The answer is, if the pot is boiling, so then the food is all considered the food line of the whole pot. Just like we said earlier, that when you either mix it or cover it, it all mixes. So the steam in it is all mixed. So therefore, if you put it on the top, and some say even on the side if it's boiling, it's all considered mixed. It's all considered like beneath the food line. Now, even if it's not boiling,
So it will be only 60.
only 60 exactly. Even if it's not boiling, so really you could say that it's like it's above the food line. Nevertheless, it doesn't spread from the pot top to the sides, because it's like two pieces, two kalim. It doesn't go from one to the other without liquid. So therefore, well, even if it's hot, without the liquid, without the steam, if there would be steam, it would anyway only need 60. But if there's no steam, so it's not going to travel outside of the pot, out of the top. So it's just going to stay in the top. So the top you'll have to kasher, but you're not going to need this 3600 because it doesn't spread to the walls.
Oh, there could be a scenario where it splashes on both at the same time.
Well, then you'll have
Partially
to.
on the pot, partially
Well,
on
then,
the
yeah, well, then that's a problem. Because then that liquid connects it.
So then you take the stricter approach.
Right. If it's hot.
and the cover would be the analysis of 3600.
Right, exactly.
So let's say it's on the top.
Uh-huh.
Move it right away.
Then you're good. Just kasher the top and that's it.
So you don't need 60. The stuff should be fine. You don't need 60, makes sense.
Yeah, you're not even going to need 60, actually. That's a good point. You're not even going to need 60 because it doesn't spread from the pot to the sides and you didn't have the liquid, you know what I mean, the steam connecting it. So that's correct. All right, my friends, there is a lot more to learn.
We have 3 review sessions before the test.
Have we got a confirmed date for the test?
And you're trying to corner me.
How about do we class on the Davis?
Asar Davis, do we?
Yeah, why not?
I can do it. I'm not against it. I can handle it. If the students are up to it, I'll come.
Let's see how.
Yeah, I
It
can do it.
should be easy one.
But do we have the
I don't know. We don't have the confirmed test. I left him a message. He actually called me back last night in the middle of the class, but I didn't see the call. So, but I didn't actually communicate with him directly.
Will it be any earlier than Tuesday?
Maybe. He's a busy man, and I can't pin him down to Tuesday. You know, depends what he does.
But
does it have-
22nd?
No,
22nd?
I haven't decided.
Does it have to be on a Monday then or a Tuesday then? Because of your schedule?
Well, Wednesday and Thursday I'm busy, and Sunday night I'm also pretty busy. But I can rearrange. If he can't do it on a Monday or Tuesday, then we'll have to figure it out. I'd like to do it Monday or Tuesday because that's when I'm generally available. All right. All the best.
Thank you very much. What's our schedule for next week?
So I think we'll learn both days, even though Tuesday will be Asar B'Tevis. I think we'll learn both days as long as the students are up to it.
Well, it's 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. for me, so I'm not bothered.
Very good.
See you later, and thank you very much.
Good morning. My pleasure.